Welcome, everybody. Good evening. It is Monday, March 29th at 7:01 p.m. We're going to get this meeting started and called to order. We are in a virtual meeting room per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Law 30A, Section 20. This meeting will take place virtually via Zoom. Pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 20, I'm hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. And Brenda, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Mr. Robin?
Here.
Mr. Daly? I'm going to mark him as not present. Mr. Kinnis?
Here.
Mrs. Lucy?
Here.
Mrs. Wadsworth?
Here.
Mrs. Westcott?
Here.
Ms. Larman?
Here. Okay, the first item on our agenda is our FY22 public budget presentation. So I'm going to hand it over to Mark Richard.
All right. Thank you, Larman. I appreciate that. And welcome to the community members who are joining us tonight for our public budget presentation for fiscal year 22. Some quick facts to get us started off and enrolling here. An enrollment update, I think, and a staffing update. I know that last year, certainly at the town meeting, there was a question that was asked about enrollment and staffing. So I thought we would address it now, and we can certainly address it at town meeting should it come up. But right now, K-6 at LES, we've got 327 students with 84 staff members, and at LMHS, we've got 334 students with 73 staff members. Of all of those students, we also have 160 of them who are school choicing in to the Lee Public Schools, which is a great sign. But we are also counterbalancing that with 108 students who are choicing out to surrounding communities, mostly in Berkshire County. Either way, it's a net positive for us financially, and we know that it's a good sign for us to know how many people are indeed interested in coming to the Lee Public Schools for their child's education. The 21-22 school year, while certainly lots of unknowns, I think it's important for us to keep our eyes on four targets. One is providing social and emotional support for all of our students who have been struggling and handling the pandemic in different ways. Certainly some of them have adjusted well, others not so much, but we need to continue to support those students. We need to identify and address learning loss that has come as a result of the pandemic, the staggered schedule, the lack of full-time in-person learning. We certainly want to maintain momentum with the expanded investment in technology that we saw, and we're certainly in a good position to be able to, I think, continue working in a one-to-one or nearly one-to-one environment. And then we're going to need to consider how we'll begin implementing any of the programming or curriculum initiatives that may come out of the district improvement plan as that unfolds. I am going to just pause. I got a note here to check the waiting room. I want to make sure that I'm not seeing anybody, but right now I'll keep an eye on it for sure. So we've got four kind of key areas that I think we need to focus on. And how are we going to do that? With the unknowns around what reopening will look like, we do know that we plan to be in person full time. In fact, we're going to transition toward that next month. We do plan to have some traditional transportation in place. Those guidance continue to evolve, and we will be responsive to that. And we will continue to implement many of the safety measures that have been put in place for this school year into next school year, which will include social distancing. I'm sure it's going to include mask wearing. We're going to continue to populate the sanitizing stations that are around both schools so students and staff alike can make sure that they are keeping themselves clean and healthy as we go. And we expect that we'll be able to put some enhanced programming in place when the school committee, through its subcommittees, start to look at the funding that's going to be available, whether that's ESSER 2 or what is becoming known as ARP ESSER. That's the American Rescue Plan for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. Those funds should be able to be accessed for us to keep ourselves moving fully and keep everyone fully staffed. The budget itself, as it's been shared with the committee, here's a little bit of a historical perspective for you over the last half dozen years or so. We're looking at a 2.97% increase for FY22 as compared to FY21. And I did email the committee members a little bit ago. I realized that there had been a typographical error on one of the slides, so I adjusted that accordingly before tonight. But most of these areas we're able to, we're keeping a level service budget for the most part, with limited exception. We do need a couple of additional one-to-one paraprofessionals to be able to support some special needs students. We are anticipating some increase in vocational transportation and some increases in transportation associated with the with athletics joining the Pioneer Valley Interscholastic Athletic Committee. So there's the PVIAC. So that really means Berkshire County schools traveling back and forth to the Pioneer Valley, and Pioneer Valley schools coming out to the Berkshires. So those are kind of the major areas where we're seeing some increases for the committee. The proposed FY22 budget is a total budget as presented to you tonight for $10,603,837. It's offset by two major areas. One is school choice, $725,000, and circuit breaker of $100,000 for a net request of $9,778,837. Now, I think it's important, I mentioned ESSER a few moments ago. I think it's important for the committee and for the community to understand what that funding is, where it's coming from, when it needs to be spent. So we received ESSER 1 last year in 2020, and that was just short of $67,000 for the Lee Public Schools. That had originally had an expiration date of December 30th. 2020. That was moved forward to June 30th of 2021. And then we received, we have available to us ESSER 2 in the amount of $334,298. That is, those are funds that are available through September of 2023. I note here that no equitable services requirement. So the Title I formula was used to determine the allocation. However, there is not a need for the Lee Public Schools to push that money, share any of those monies out with any of the private schools that our students may attend locally, unlike most Title I operations. Of that $334,298, a minimum of $10,000 of that must be spent on student mental health services and support. So the application, if this is going to be used in FY22, opens up on April 19th. That's my recommendation, is that we hold off. We can get through the balance of FY21 without accessing those monies. So I think that we should use the next few weeks to start to think about that application. It opens on the 19th, but it doesn't close until July. So we've got time to make sure that we've got a solid plan about how we want to use those funds for the coming fiscal year and following. And then again, ARP ESSER is expected to be a 2.2 multiplier of ESSER 2, meaning we should expect about $735,000 to come to the Lee Public Schools through that, what I refer to as ESSER 3, and those funds will be good, expected through 2024. So there is a significant grant funding that will allow us to focus on those social emotional needs of students, to dedicate staff time, effort, and resources towards addressing and mitigating learning loss that may have taken place over the last year. The government is being very flexible in its, I guess, allowable expenses charged against these grants. So there is, the committee will have some flexibility in what to do with those monies. Again, less than a 3% increase in overall budget. I'm not coming to you this year asking to implement new programming. I think that we should avail ourselves of those grant funds for the coming year, and we can set up some specialized programming. We can dedicate some resources towards enhanced summer programming as much as possible. Greg, Kate, Jen, and me have been talking about surveying families to sort of find out what the appetite is for how many people would be interested in learning. I understand that everybody is tired, and that includes students and that includes staff for sure. So there's a balance there. Unfortunately, we really want to make sure that we're keeping students focused, engaged, and healthy. And some of that involves them potentially participating in some summer programming that's going to go beyond credit recovery, but true remediation and enhancement. So we should be able to provide some services to students to get them better off for the coming school year. And in some though, the things that are really influencing this small increase, we've got some contractual obligations to 2 special ed paraprofessionals. And then a note here for the committee to keep in mind is that next year will be a year that we'll spend a good part of our time, I think, negotiating new contracts, as all the contracts will expire the following summer. So we'll need to have those in place and aligned to move forward. So that's it in a nutshell. I try to, for you folks on the committee and for those who are at home, try to keep this as I think as clean as possible. I did share with the committee previously. You've got all the line items within the budget for your consideration and where those are. I just don't know that it's in our best interest to get bogged down in those details tonight. So I will turn it back to you, Chairperson Larman, and be happy to address any questions that anyone has.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any questions from the committee for Mike?
Mike, it's Randy. I just wanted to check in, and I know in the past 2 months, we had asked folks if they had any questions regarding the budget or anything like that, if people would reach out to you personally and have those conversations. I just wanted to check in. Did people come in and ask you questions about the budget?
I can tell you that I can't recall that I got anything specific from committee or community members. I think there were some general questions just about the percentage of increase. But as far as detail, Mr. Kinnis, no.
Thank you.
Is there, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there anybody in the public gallery that has questions for Mr. Richard?
I'll watch the Chair Larman. I'll watch the chat and see if anything comes up in the chat, and I'll also see if people
open. Yeah, so I'm looking for raised hands in the participants.
If people have their video, yeah.
All right, I'm not seeing any participants with their hands raised. Are you getting any chats, Mike?
There's nothing in the chat right now.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to approve the FY 22 total budget of $10,603,837 with an offset of $725,000 of school choice and $100,000 of circuit breaker being applied, resulting in a net appropriation at town meeting for an FY 22 request of the town of Lee, $9,778,837.
I will make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll
Yep.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, Brenda, can we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Robin,
Yes.
Mr. Daly, Mr. Kinnis,
Yes.
Mrs. Lucy,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth,
I'm going to recuse myself from this vote.
Recuse or abstain? Same thing?
Same thing.
Mrs. Westcott,
Yes.
Ms. Larman.
Yes. Okay. The next thing that we have on our agenda is to look at the revised 2021 school calendar.
So that calendar was shared with the committee due to the return to full-time in-person learning at the elementary school targeted for April 5th, and the expected return of full-time, in-person learning for students at Lee Middle and High School on April 26th. We need to make some adjustments to those half-day Wednesdays that had previously been asynchronous time. That those hours no longer count toward time on learning. As such, we need to remove those half-days from the calendar to allow for the full-time synchronous in-person learning. Excuse me. Because we are in a decent position with the time on learning leading up to April vacation, the recommendation to the committee is to keep those last two half days intact. That'd be for April 7th and April 14th. But that following April vacation, there would be all the half day Wednesdays would be eliminated. Students would be in school full-time, full day. So that because that is a calendar change, it does require the committee's vote so that we can move this forward and push this out to the community so they can plan accordingly.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to accept the revised 2021 school calendar.
I'll second it.
No, we need
I make a motion, we accept the revised 2021 school calendar as presented.
Second.
any discussion? All right, Brenda, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Mr. Robin,
Yes.
Mr. Daly not present, Mr. Kinnis,
Yes.
Mrs. Lucy,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth,
Yes.
Mrs. Westcott,
Yes.
and Ms. Larman.
Yes. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, the full-time return to school memorandum of agreement. We don't have anything to discuss about that right now, so I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the LES lunch monitors position approval.
So as part of our return to full-time in person, in order for us to be able to move enough students through the cafeteria on a rotating basis, seated 6 feet apart because they will be without masks. We're looking for some additional supervision to be able to help, whether it's in a classroom setting, the cafeteria as proper, or outside as we try to rotate through a recess type of environment. So we're looking for some additional staff to be able to support that. I know that Principal Retzel is on the call, and I don't want to put her on the spot. I'm not sure she was prepared to talk about this, but she is developing that schedule. And Chair Larman, if I could ask Principal Retzel to weigh in, that would be great.
I think that's a great idea.
So basically, we're trying to create 4 spots for kids to rotate through if it's nice weather. 2 of the spots will be shut down if it's not nice weather, but so there'll be 2 spots in the cafeteria and 2 spots outside, one in the alcove to the left of the cafeteria, and one actually will be on the other side of the gym on the walkway that's right behind the gym. And in order to have enough supervision in those 4 spots, or potentially 2 in the caf and 2 in classrooms, we need more staff than we have right now. So it'll be an increase of at least 2, but up to, maybe 5 or 6, depending on how the schedule shakes out, because there's some overlap, so that we're not eating at 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon.
Thanks, Kate. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the lunch monitor positions.
I make a motion that we approve the lunch monitor positions.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
What are the hours for this position? This isn't a full day position, right?
No, it's a part. Oh, I see Kate unmuting herself. It is a part-time position.
Yeah, it's approximately 11 to 1 is what the 2 current people work. And I'm filling in gaps throughout that time, but it wouldn't be any more than 11 to 1.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Okay, Brenda, can we have another roll call, please?
Mr. Robin,
yes,
Mr. Daly not present, Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Lucy,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth,
Yes,
Mrs. Westcott,
yes,
and Ms. Larman.
Yes. Okay. I think we just had the fastest school committee meeting on record. I have nothing else on my agenda. Our next full monthly school committee meeting will be on Tuesday, the 13th, I think it is. Thank you, Mike. At 7 o'clock. So I hope to see everybody there. Hopefully, if the weather is better, we can be in person. Those of us that can be in person. Those of you that need to still be remote, we understand. So I'm gonna say, does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Aaron. Any discussion? All right, Brenda, one more time, please.
Mr. Robin,
Yes,
Mr. Daly not present, Mr. Kenneth,
Yes.
Mrs. Lucy,
Yes.
Mrs. Wadsworth,
yes.
Mrs. Westcott,
yes.
Ms. Larman.
Yes. Okay, so I am calling this meeting to a close at 7:25. Hope to see you guys all in a couple weeks at our monthly April meeting.